Patriots Nation, buckle up because it really feels like something is moving behind the curtain in Foxborough. This is the kind of day where every jersey number, every visit, every open roster spot, and every locker room whisper starts to feel like it might be telling us part of the story. This is not just a random stack of headlines. This is reading the signals. We've got a quiet roster move with real competition underneath it. A veteran name that fits Mike Vrabel's identity almost too perfectly. A huge offensive rumor that has fans dreaming big, and a possible return that has everybody paying close attention. Hit that like button because this one is coming in hot. Now look at this first move because this is exactly the kind of news a lot of people scroll past, but inside Foxborough, it feels like a message. The Patriots had 2 open spots on their 90-man roster. They brought in a group of undrafted rookies for minicamp, watched them closely for 3 days, studied the details, the attitude, the response to coaching, the practice intensity, and came out of it with 2 names to complete the group, safety Peter Manuma and edge rusher Xavier Holmes. And with Holmes, there's a detail that really fits this new era. He is not arriving with first-round hype. He is not stepping into the building on a red carpet, but he is coming in with production, size, and a story that connects with the region. He started his college career at Maine, started in 2023 and 2024, and in 2024 he put up 74 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Then he transferred to James Madison and kept showing up. 30 tackles, 6 sacks, 1 interception, 4 pass breakups, and he even blocked a kick in his debut there. That, to me, is exactly the type of profile Mike Vrabel likes to bring into the building at this point on the calendar. It is not only about chasing stars. It is about finding players who can handle the dirty work, play special teams, compete in practice reps like they are Sunday snaps, except starting at the back of the line, and make the coaching staff look twice. And the edge rusher room in New England has become a real battleground this offseason. Draymond Jones came in, Gabe Hakus came in, Quintavious Hutchins came in, Jesse Luketa came in. Harold Landry, Elijah Ponder, and Braden Swinson are still on the depth chart too. So Holmes is not walking into an empty room. He is walking into a room with pressure, veterans, draft picks, and players fighting to survive the final cut. But that is the interesting behind-the-scenes part. When a coach like Vrabel fills out the roster with this kind of player, he is basically saying nobody gets to live off a name. At the bottom of the roster, every practice snap is a job interview. And for Holmes, this contract is a small door. But in Foxborough, a small door can turn into a real path if the player brings violence, discipline, and special teams value. And if the first story is about competition at the bottom of the roster, the second one turns the volume way up. What if the Patriots are still looking for a grown-up voice? A respected voice, almost a command center type of presence in the middle of the defense. Because the name being floated as a possible fit is Bobby Wagner. And listen, when you talk about Wagner, you are not talking about just another veteran trying to squeeze out one more contract. You are talking about a linebacker with locker room respect, football IQ, pre-snap authority, and the kind of presence that can change the tone of an entire unit. Right now, the conversation is about fit. There is no finished deal being treated like a transaction. But as a behind-the-scenes read, it makes a whole lot of sense. Mike Vrabel is trying to rebuild a defensive identity in New England. And defensive identity does not come from scattered talent alone. It comes from communication, standards, accountability. A player who lines people up before the snap, reads formations, understands tendencies, gets the front in the right spot, and keeps the defense from playing one step late mentally. And Wagner still produced in Washington. He played 17 games in 2025 with 158 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. PFF gave him a 78.6 overall grade with a 90.3 run defense grade and a 92.4 pass rush grade. Those numbers say one thing loud and clear. Even as a veteran, he still has real value, especially if the role is defined. The question for the Patriots is understanding what he would be, not selling some fantasy version of it. Wagner would not come in as a 5-year answer. He would come in to speed up the process. Right now, the linebacker room has Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis, KJ Britt, Chad Muma, Otis Reese, Amari Gaynor, Nnamdi Obiazor, and Khalil Jacobs. There are bodies, there is competition, there are pieces, but nobody in that room has Bobby Wagner's resume, experience, and command. That is what really grabs me. Drake Maye is the center of the offensive project, but Vrabel also has to build a defense that supports the growth of the whole team. A veteran like this can shorten the learning curve for everybody. He can help young players play faster. He can organize calls. He can turn third and short into a physical fight. He can give the locker room a daily example of preparation. Of course, there is a real debate here. Age matters. Coverage in space has to be managed. But if the deal is short, smart, and clearly defined, stop the run, lead the room, play key snaps, and raise the standard, then I want New England to at least make the call. Because a team trying to become feared again needs players who already know what a feared defense looks like from the inside. Now let's get to the topic that has Patriots fans staring at their phones waiting for any alert. A.J. Brown and New England. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes smoke that grows not because there is one official line connecting everything, but because the pieces start landing way too close to each other. And when you put the Eagles, roster movement, trade price rumors, New England interest, and now this Boston angle together, of course the fan base is going straight to Foxborough. The speculation got louder after Jim Murray from 98.5 The Sports Hub said a source told him A.J. Brown was expected to speak with management at one of those big luxury condo buildings in the seaport about residency. And that opens up the debate. On one hand, rich players can look at real estate anywhere. They can own homes in multiple cities. It could be an investment. It could simply be a visit. That happens. But on the other hand, fans look at it and ask, why Boston? Why now? Why exactly when his name is so tied to the Patriots? And this is where the behind-the-scenes mode gets dangerous and fascinating at the same time. Because nobody in the NFL usually announces a major move before it happens. Things leak in pieces. One comment here. One market read there. One strange decision from another roster. One real estate detail that looks small. And suddenly everybody is building the same puzzle at the kitchen table. A.J. Brown would be a massive shift for Drake Maye. We are not talking about a complimentary receiver. We are talking about a physical, dominant target who wins through contact, threatens the intermediate area, creates after the catch, and changes how defenses have to line up. For a young quarterback, that is gold. You give him a presence who can win even when the play is not perfect. You give him confidence on third down. You give him an answer against tight coverage. You force defensive coordinators to pick their poison. But there is another side of the room, the price. Philadelphia is not giving away a player like that as a favor. If the Eagles really open the door, they are going to want a serious return. And then New England has to decide how far it is willing to go to accelerate the project. Because there is a difference between being aggressive and being reckless. Vrabel and the front office need to look at Drake Maye and ask, is this the move that raises the ceiling of the offense right now? Or does the cost hurt too many other parts of the rebuild? My read? If A.J. Brown is truly getting closer to the Boston radar for reasons tied to a trade, the Patriots have to be right in the middle of that conversation. This franchise spent way too long trying to win without a clear number one receiver. And if that chance shows up, you do not watch from the parking lot. You get in the room, close the door, and figure out the price. Now I want to hear from the fan base. If the cost is high but A.J. Brown is available, would you pay it to give Drake Maye a true WR1? Because that answer might divide the stands, but it could also define how ambitious New England really wants to be. And the fourth story has the kind of detail that looks small until fans start connecting the dots. Stefon Diggs was released by the New England Patriots earlier this offseason. He is still unsigned. And yet his name is still alive in the conversation with fans. This is not just nostalgia. The temperature changed. Diggs was found not guilty of the strangulation and assault allegations on May 5th, and the next day he posted a highlight reel on Instagram with a caption pointing to his numbers and his value. In other words, he is sending a message to the league, I am still here. And then came the behind-the-scenes detail that fired up the fan base. A lot of Patriots fans jumped into the comments asking him to come back. Some of his New England teammates showed up there too. Then came Mike Reese of ESPN reporting that Kyle Williams, who had been expected to switch to number 8, the number Diggs wore last season, is now sticking with number 18. That is one of those things that by itself can have a simple explanation. Number changes involve money, logistics, jerseys already made, personal choice. But in Foxborough, when a number sits in the middle of an open story, fans are going to look. And honestly, they should. The most interesting part is that Elliot Wolf had already left the door cracked open back in March when he said he never likes to rule anything out and did not want to close the door on anything. At that time, the issue was big. Diggs was set to carry a cap hit north of $25 million next season. Now, if the market does not give him the big contract he may have expected, a shorter and cheaper deal changes the entire conversation. But if Diggs came back, it would not necessarily be for the same old role. And that is what makes this debate so interesting. The Patriots already signed Romeo Doubs. The A.J. Brown speculation is still out there. So if this offense really lands an elite piece and still brings Diggs back at a smart number, we are talking about a receiver room that suddenly stops being a question and becomes a problem for defenses. Imagine the change in atmosphere for Drake Maye. Instead of asking the kid to create miracles with a tiny margin for error, you give him options with different styles, experience, size, route running, target competition, and internal pressure. Diggs as a third option, if the scenario plays out that way, would be the kind of luxury serious teams have. And I know some fans are skeptical, and they have reason to be, because big names alone do not win games. But offensive depth wins tough Sundays, experience wins third downs, and wounded pride, when it is channeled the right way, can become fuel. In the end, this is the type of decision that separates talk from real ambition. If Diggs is available at a price that makes sense, New England needs to evaluate it without fear, without ego, and without closing the door just because the first exit was loud. Sometimes the story circles back, and when it circles back in Foxborough, we pay attention. So that is the day in New England, and the message is pretty clear for anyone paying close attention. Vrabel is working the edges of the roster, testing hunger, special teams value, and competition. At the same time, names like Bobby Wagner, A.J. Brown, and Stefon Diggs show that this fan base is done with small conversations. Patriots fans want a team that is aggressive, smart, physical, and serious about giving Drake Maye real support. Not everything is done. Not everything is happening tomorrow. But the signals are on the table. If you want to follow this rebuild from the inside, subscribe to the channel, because Foxborough is starting to sound like big decisions again.